The high desert of the American Southwest is a land of vast spaces. The sky is a brilliant blue bowl that stretches from one horizon to the next. The sun beats down on red rock canyons and sandy plains dotted with tough green juniper trees and sagebrush. This is a place where the wind seems to carry old secrets. It whispers through narrow slot canyons and across wide-open mesas. In this ancient landscape, stories are as much a part of the world as the rocks and the sky. Two of the most powerful stories belong to mysterious beings. One is the Skinwalker, a figure of deep fear that walks in the darkness. The other is the Ant People, benevolent guides who live deep within the earth. These legends are not just simple tales for a campfire. They are woven into the very fabric of the Navajo and Pueblo cultures of southern Colorado and northern New Mexico. They are part of a worldview that sees the land as sacred and alive. For generations, these stories have been passed down from elders to children. They teach important lessons about how to live in balance with the world. They explain the difference between good and evil, harmony and chaos. The Skinwalker represents the dangers of breaking sacred rules. The Ant People represent the hope and help that can be found when one lives the right way. They are two sides of the same coin, showing the path to follow and the path to avoid. Imagine standing on a dusty road as twilight settles over the land. The brilliant orange and purple colors of the sunset fade into a deep, dark blue. The air grows cool and the sounds of the day disappear. In their place, the quiet sounds of the night begin. A coyote might howl in the distance. The wind might rustle the leaves of a cottonwood tree. It is in this profound silence and growing darkness that the old stories feel most real. One might feel a sudden chill, a sense of being watched from the shadows. This is the feeling that the Skinwalker legend brings to life. It is a reminder that not everything in the world is safe or can be easily explained. On the other hand, think of a time of great trouble. Imagine a world where the surface of the earth is being destroyed by fire or ice. The stories of the Ant People offer a different kind of feeling. They speak of a safe place, a sanctuary deep underground where humanity could survive. They are a promise of protection and wisdom. These beings teach that help can come from unexpected places, even from the small creatures of the earth. Their story is one of hope, resilience, and the importance of listening to the guidance of those who know the ancient ways. Both the Skinwalker and the Ant People are powerful symbols, born from the unique and mystical landscape of the Southwest. The cultures that gave birth to these legends are as ancient as the land itself. The Navajo, or Dean as they call themselves, have a rich and complex system of beliefs. Their world is governed by the principle of Hozo, which means harmony, balance, and beauty. To live in Hozo is to walk a path of righteousness and maintain a proper relationship with the holy people, the sacred elements, and all living things. The Navajo homeland, Dineta, is a sacred geography. It is marked by 4 sacred mountains that define its borders. Every canyon, river, and mesa within this land has a story. These stories are not just entertainment, they are a guide to living a balanced life. The Pueblo peoples, including the Hopi, Zuni, and the various pueblos along the Rio Grande, also have deep roots in this region. Their ancestors, the ancestral Puebloans, built incredible stone cities in the cliffs, like those at Mesa Verde in southern Colorado. The Pueblo worldview is centered on community, agriculture, and a deep connection to the cycles of nature. Their ceremonies and dances are vital for bringing rain, ensuring a good harvest, and maintaining balance with the spirit world. For them, the earth is a living mother, and the kiva, a ceremonial chamber built underground, is a sacred space that connects them to the lower worlds from which their ancestors emerged. Both the Navajo and Pueblo traditions place a high value on oral history. Stories are the primary way that knowledge, values, and laws are passed from one generation to the next. An elder telling a story is not just sharing a myth. They are reinforcing the cultural foundations that have allowed their people to thrive in a challenging environment for centuries. These stories explain the creation of the world, the origins of clans, and the proper ways to conduct ceremonies. They also serve as warnings. They describe the dire consequences that come from greed, disrespect, and the misuse of spiritual power, which is where the story of the Skinwalker finds its dark origins. This region, spanning from the San Juan Mountains in Colorado down into the high plains of New Mexico, is a place where the spiritual and physical worlds are not separate. A rock formation is not just a geological feature. It might be a deity frozen in time. A spring is not just a source of water, it is a sacred opening to the world below. The landscape is a living text, full of meaning and power. It is within this culturally rich and spiritually charged environment that the Skinwalker walks and the ant people dwell. Understanding this connection between people, place, and belief is the key to understanding the true meaning of their legends. The Skinwalker is one of the most frightening figures in Navajo legend. In the Navajo language, the term is Yi-Nald-Lushi, which translates to by means of it, he goes on all fours. This name points to the creature's most terrifying ability, shape-shifting. A Skinwalker is not a monster born from nature. It is a human being, a medicine man or woman who has chosen to use their power for evil instead of for good. They have abandoned the path of harmony, Hojo, and embraced the forbidden art of witchcraft. To gain their dark powers, they must commit a terrible act, something that breaks the most profound cultural taboos, such as harming a close family member. Once they have crossed this line, they gain supernatural abilities. The most famous of these is the power to transform into an animal. They can become a wolf, a coyote, a bear, an owl, or any other creature. When they take on an animal's form, they are said to wear its skin like a cloak, hence the name Skinwalker. In this guise, they can travel at incredible speeds, moving with unnatural quickness through the night. They can climb sheer cliffs and run for miles without tiring. Their goal is to inflict pain, sickness, and misfortune upon others. They might cause a terrible accident, bring a mysterious illness to a family, or create conflict within a community. The Skinwalker is a master of fear. They are known to peer into the windows of homes, knock on walls, or make strange, unsettling noises in the dark. Sometimes they will mimic the voice of a loved one to lure someone outside. Their eyes are said to glow with a strange, reddish light in the darkness, and they often leave behind tracks that are not quite right, too large, too deep, or belonging to an animal that is not native to the area. The very presence of a Skinwalker is a sign that the natural order has been disrupted. They are a physical manifestation of chaos and evil, a direct opposite to the balance and harmony that Navajo culture holds so dear. Because they are human, they are even more terrifying than a simple monster. They could be anyone, a neighbor, a distant relative, someone you might see in the community. This adds a layer of deep psychological fear to the legend. The Skinwalker represents the potential for darkness that exists within humanity itself. They are a powerful cautionary tale about the dangers of ambition, jealousy, and the lust for power. Their story warns that the greatest threats do not always come from outside forces, but can arise from within one's own community when individuals choose to walk a path of corruption and abandon their sacred responsibilities. For many people living in the rural areas of the Southwest, the Skinwalker is more than just a scary story. It is a real and present danger. The belief is treated with the utmost seriousness, and talking about Skinwalkers is often avoided. It is said that speaking their name, Yi-Nald-Lushi, can draw their attention to you. People will not tell these stories lightly, especially not after dark. The fear they inspire is profound and deeply ingrained in the culture. It teaches a powerful form of respect for the unknown and for the boundaries of the spiritual world. This caution is a survival mechanism, a way of not inviting trouble into one's life. When someone believes they have had an encounter with a Skinwalker, it is a matter of great concern. They might hear strange scratching sounds on the roof of their home or see an animal acting in a bizarre, unnatural way near their property. A common story involves a driver at night who is paced by a coyote or wolf that runs alongside their car at impossible speeds, sometimes even trying to run them off the road. These encounters are not dismissed as imagination. They are seen as direct, malicious attacks. The family will often seek the help of a traditional medicine man, a hata'ali, to perform a protection ceremony to restore balance and ward off the evil influence. This fear is also a form of social control. The Skinwalker legend reinforces the importance of living a good life and treating others with respect. It discourages greed, envy, and harmful gossip, as these are the very emotions that might lead someone down the dark path to becoming a Skinwalker. The ever-present threat of witchcraft serves as a powerful reminder to stay on the path of Hojo. In this way, the fear of the Skinwalker helps to maintain the health and harmony of the community. It encourages people to be mindful of their actions and to uphold the cultural values that have sustained their people for generations. Respect for the Skinwalker is tied to a broader respect for the power of Navajo medicine and spirituality. The same knowledge that can be used for healing and creating beauty can, in the wrong hands, be twisted into something that causes harm. The Skinwalker is the ultimate example of this corruption. Therefore, the stories serve as a warning to those who might be tempted to abuse sacred knowledge for personal gain. It is a lesson in humility, reminding people that there are forces in the world that are powerful and dangerous and should not be tampered with. The fear is a shield and the respect is a guide to walking the right path. In stark contrast to the terrifying Skinwalker is the benevolent legend of the Ant People. These beings are prominent in Hopi mythology, as well as in the stories of other Pueblo cultures. The Ant People, or Anu Sinom in the Hopi language, are not insects, but are described as humanoid beings who live in vast, complex cities deep underground. They are depicted as having thin bodies and large heads, somewhat resembling ants. Unlike the Skinwalker, who represents chaos and destruction, the Ant People are symbols of cooperation, hard work, and salvation. They are seen as guardians and helpers of humanity during times of great crisis. The primary role of the Ant People in Hopi tradition is that of saviors. According to the creation stories, the world has gone through several cycles of creation and destruction. At the end of the first world, or Tokpala, the world was destroyed by fire. At the end of the second world, or Tokpa, it was destroyed by ice. In both instances, the creator spirit, Sotuknang, instructed the virtuous people to seek out the Ant People for help. The Ant People opened up their underground kivas and welcomed the humans into their subterranean homes, providing them with shelter, food, and safety, while the destruction raged on the surface above. Within their underground world, the Ant People taught humanity important lessons for survival. They are credited with teaching people how to store food. The humans noticed that the Ant People were able to preserve their food supplies for long periods, and they learned these methods of preservation, which allowed them to endure the long time spent underground. This aspect of the myth highlights the importance of planning, foresight, and saving resources, all essential skills for surviving in the arid Southwest. The Ant People Society was one of perfect harmony and industry, where everyone worked together for the good of the whole community, offering a model for human society to follow. The Ant People are not feared. They are revered as ancient ancestors and wise guides. Their story is one of hope and deliverance. It teaches that even in the face of overwhelming disaster, there is a path to survival. It also teaches the importance of humility, of being willing to accept help from others, even from those who may seem small or different. The Ant People represent the goodness and generosity that can be found in the world, a direct counterbalance to the malice of the Skinwalker. They are a reminder that the earth itself can provide sanctuary and that a life of cooperation and diligence is the key to overcoming hardship. Stories of Skinwalker encounters are often personal and, well, shared with caution. One common tale involves a family living in a remote hogan, which is the traditional Navajo dwelling. Late one night, the family is awakened by this frantic scratching sound on the door. The dogs outside, usually brave and loud, are whimpering in fear. The father of the family looks through a small crack and sees nothing, but the scratching just continues, moving from the door to the walls. Then, a voice that sounds like his sister calls his name from the darkness, pleading for him to come outside. He knows his sister lives many miles away. He understands it is a Skinwalker trying to trick him, so he stays inside, praying until the sun rises. When morning comes, they find strange, non-human tracks all around the hogan. Another chilling account is often told by those who travel the empty roads of the reservation at night. A man is driving home late, the only headlights for miles around. In his rearview mirror, he sees a pair of glowing eyes following him. At first, he thinks it is just a coyote, but the eyes keep pace with his truck, even as he speeds up. The creature, a massive wolf-like animal, runs alongside the vehicle, its glowing eyes staring directly at him. It moves with an unnatural speed and grace. The man is filled with terror, knowing this is no ordinary animal. He presses the accelerator, but the creature easily keeps up. Just as he reaches the edge of his town where the streetlights begin, the creature veers off into the darkness and disappears as suddenly as it appeared. The stories of the Ant People, however, are not tales of terror, but of creation and salvation. The most important story tells of the journey into the Ant Kivas. When the creator determined that the second world had become corrupt, he decided to destroy it with ice. He sent his nephew, Sotunang, to find the righteous people. Sotunang led them to a mound of earth where the Ant People lived. The chief of the ant people emerged and, upon hearing of the coming destruction, agreed to help. He led the people down a ladder into the vast, warm caverns of his kingdom. He told the humans that as long as they remembered their connection to the Creator, they would be safe. While living underground, the people were given a small amount of food each day, but it magically sustained them. They learned from the ant people's example of rationing and conservation. When the ice finally melted and it was safe to return to the surface, the people emerged into the third world. The Hopi say that the ant people gave them a parting gift, a narrow waist. This was a reminder of the time they spent living on meager rations, a physical symbol of the importance of humility and not being greedy. These stories are foundational, explaining not just the survival of their people, but also shaping their philosophy of life. Comparing the Skinwalker and the ant people reveals two very different approaches to understanding the world and how to survive in it. The Skinwalker represents survival through individual power, selfishness, and harm. To become a Skinwalker, a person must reject their community and their responsibilities. They seek power for its own sake, using it to dominate and instill fear in others. This path is a perversion of the natural order, a choice to create chaos rather than harmony. The survival it offers is a lonely and corrupt one, built on the suffering of others. The Skinwalker is a warning that this kind of survival comes at the cost of one's own humanity. In complete opposition, the ant people represent survival through community cooperation and humility. They do not act alone but work together as a society. They offer help not for personal gain, but out of generosity and a sense of shared destiny. The survival they offer is communal. They save the entire group of virtuous people, not just one individual. Their lessons are about sharing resources, planning for the future, and living in balance with the world around them. This path to survival is based on maintaining strong social bonds and upholding a moral code. The ant people show that true strength and resilience come from working together. Fear is the primary tool of the Skinwalker. They operate in the dark, using psychological terror to weaken their victims. The fear they create is isolating, making people feel alone and vulnerable. It can break apart families and communities by sowing suspicion and distrust. The stories about Skinwalkers teach you what not to do. They are a negative guide, showing the path of destruction that follows from breaking sacred laws. The fear itself serves a purpose. It keeps people on the right path, reminding them of the terrible consequences of straying from the principles of Ho. Hope is the gift of the ant people. Their stories provide comfort in a world that can often seem harsh and unforgiving. They teach that even when faced with total catastrophe, there is a way forward. The hope they provide is rooted in faith. Faith in the Creator, faith in the goodness of others, and faith in the power of community. Their legend is a positive guide, showing what you should do to ensure a good life. They teach that by living virtuously and working together, humanity can overcome any obstacle. These two legends, one of fear and one of hope, provide a complete moral compass for navigating the challenges of life. The stark and beautiful landscape of the Southwest is not just a backdrop for these myths, it is an active character in them. The vast, empty spaces and the deep, concealing canyons are the perfect stage for a creature like the Skinwalker. The darkness in the high desert is profound and absolute, far away from the light pollution of cities. In this immense blackness, every strange sound is magnified, and the imagination can easily run wild. The rugged terrain, with its hidden arroyos and twisted juniper trees, provides endless places for a shapeshifter to hide. The landscape itself seems to hold its breath at night, creating an atmosphere thick with mystery and potential danger. The geography also shapes the stories of the ant people. The Pueblo and Hopi cultures have long observed the industrious ants of the desert, who build complex colonies beneath the sun-baked earth. It is easy to see how these tiny, resilient creatures could inspire stories of a vast underground world. The idea of seeking refuge underground makes perfect sense in a land of extreme temperatures, where the earth offers a cool escape from the summer heat and warmth from the winter cold. The kivas of the Pueblo people, which are built partially or wholly underground, are physical representations of this connection to the earth and the lower worlds, linking their daily spiritual life to the very myths of their origins. Cultural traditions are deeply tied to this landscape. The Navajo value of mobility, reflected in their traditional pastoral lifestyle, resonates with the Skinwalker's ability to travel vast distances with supernatural speed. The Pueblo people's more settled, agricultural lifestyle is reflected in the Ant people's lessons of food storage and community cooperation. Each culture's relationship with the land informed the kinds of stories they told. The land provided the challenges: drought, harsh winters, isolation, and the myths provided the answers, whether through warnings against evil or tales of miraculous salvation. The stories are a map for how to live here. Ultimately, the Southwest landscape is a sacred text. For the people who have lived here for millennia, every feature has a name and a story. The Shiprock Pinnacle in New Mexico is not just a volcanic neck, it is Tsebitai, the rock with wings that carried the ancestors of the Navajo to their current homeland. The San Francisco peaks near Flagstaff are not just mountains, they are the sacred Nuvatukia'ovi, the home of the Hopi-Kachina spirits. This living, breathing landscape gives the myths their power and their permanence. The Skinwalker and the Ant people feel real because the land from which they sprung feels so deeply alive and full of ancient power. In our modern world of science and technology, it might be easy to dismiss these stories as simple folklore. But for the Navajo and Pueblo peoples, and for anyone who seeks to understand their culture, these myths are as relevant today as they were centuries ago. They are not just about supernatural beings, they are about human nature. The Skinwalker is a timeless symbol of greed, corruption, and the abuse of power. It serves as a powerful reminder that the potential for evil exists in every society and that communities must be vigilant in upholding their moral values to protect themselves from such darkness. The story of the Ant people also carries an urgent message for today. In an age of environmental challenges and social division, their legend speaks to the importance of cooperation, conservation, and humility. It teaches that humanity's survival depends on our ability to work together and to respect the earth that sustains us. The Ant people's example of providing shelter to those in need is a lesson in compassion and generosity. Their story encourages us to look for wisdom in unexpected places and to remember that we are all connected in a web of life. It is a story of hope, reminding us that we can overcome great challenges by uniting for a common good. These stories also play a crucial role in cultural preservation. As younger generations grow up in a world dominated by outside influences, the traditional stories serve as a vital link to their heritage. The oral tradition of storytelling keeps the language, the values, and the unique worldview of their ancestors alive. By listening to and sharing the tales of the Skinwalker and the Ant people, young Navajo and Pueblo people reinforce their identity and their connection to their community and their sacred lands. The myths are a form of cultural resilience, ensuring that their rich heritage is not lost to time. In the end, these legends endure because they speak to universal truths. They explore the fundamental conflict between good and evil, selfishness and community, fear and hope. They give a voice to the mysteries of the world and provide a framework for how to live a meaningful life. The whispers of the Skinwalker on the night wind and the promise of the Ant people deep in the earth are more than just myths. They are echoes of ancient wisdom, carried on the desert wind, as vital and alive today as the red rocks and the vast blue sky of the American Southwest. They teach us all to listen closely to the stories the land has to tell.